Assalamu alaikum and peace and blessings be upon you and your family. Welcome once again to another episode of At My Sister House Talk Show. Today, I am honored beyond words. This is a distinct privilege to have two sisters who have contributed much, sacrificed much, and we're going to learn more about that. I thank you both for being here. I'd like to introduce two of our sisters with us today, Sister Medina Muhammad and Sister Janet Muhammad. At this time, I thank you both. I thank you for being on the show.
You're welcome.
We're going to start with you, Sister Medina. You've been on here before. You're not a stranger. I thank you for joining us. This is not part two. So in case you ask it, this ain't part two. We still got that coming.
Right.
But I thank you for being on today. Again, thank you, Sister Janet, for being on.
You're welcome.
Sister Medina.
Thank you once again. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you, to the listening audience. And thank you, Sister Fatimah, for having us back again. I always want to say and start out with the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his last and messenger. And I thank Allah for Minister Farrakhan today in our midst, leader, teacher, and guide. As if it was not for Minister Farrakhan, we would have no reason to be sitting here talking about the history of the Nation of Islam, because it is him that made it where we would not forget about the coming of Master Fard Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the eternal leader, the Nation of Islam. So with that being said, I too am honored once again to be at my sister's house. And bringing a sister with me this time. So we will, inshallah, we will be able to give you some insight as to when the children were actually taking. There's a lot of people that talk about children being taken for the cause of Islam or the school and so forth, but there are a lot of people who don't know anything about that particular situation, the details, and especially who they were.
Yeah.
My mother and father, my mother being the one and only secretary to Master Fard Muhammad at the age of 17, when she came into the nation, Bernstein Sharif Muhammad married the younger brother to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister John Muhammad. They were the ones who made that sacrifice and was ordered by the authority at that time in the early year of 1953. And they were warned several times about taking their children out of the school, the Muslim school. At that time, the University of Islam, it was called. And so my parents were warned because they did not, the enemy did not want us to have our own school.
Yeah.
And so they sent warnings to my parents about taking the children out of that school. And that they would, if they did not, my parents did not take the children out of the school, then they would come and take the school-aged children at that time away from them. They would take those children away from them. And so my mother and father did not take their children out of the school, and the enemy was true to his word. And he came, and they came and they took the children. It was 4 children that was taken. My brother Elijah, my sister's set of twins, Louita and Frida, and at that time the youngest girl, Janet. And those children have all, except one, has returned to Allah.
Yes. Yeah.
The only one that is living today that can speak about that experience is my sister Janet, who is sitting here today.
Yes.
And she is the one that you, listening audience, will hear more from today instead of me. My turn will be next month, inshallah. And we'll do part 2 on my interview.
Yes.
But we will hear from my sister Janet, the only surviving one of the 4 children that were taken. So now you can hear her. This is my sister Janet Marie Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Janet Marie Muhammad, 7th child of 14 to John and Bernstein Muhammad. My father, Mr. John Muhammad, and my mother, Sister Bernstein Muhammad. I was taken, in 1953, my father got a warning to put us in a public school. And he didn't obey the warning, so in 1954 we had to go to court. From the court, and that later on that year in 1954, that's when a knock was on the door at our home when they took the 4 of us from my parents, removed us from the home. That's when they removed us from the home. And there were police officers all around, everywhere. I was the youngest downstairs. I always woke early in the morning with my mother, so it was a knock on the door, and I told my mother, when my mother went to the door, there was only 1 police officer, so when she opened the door, that's when she saw all of them. And it was so many police officers everywhere, so they asked my mother, where were the other children? And my mother said they were upstairs asleep. So this lady police officer said she was going to go up and get the children. So my mother said that no, she would go to get them. So my mother goes upstairs to get the rest of my brothers, my brother and my 2 sisters. The ones, my brother Elijah, my sister Frida, and my sister Louita. I was already downstairs with my mother. So they went up. My mother went and got them, brought them downstairs. So she asked the police officer, no, she went to answer the phone. That's what it was. She went to call our minister, my father first. She went to call my father. And the police officer told her, no, she couldn't call him. They wouldn't let her use the phone at all, not even to call her minister. She wanted to call the minister too. And they wouldn't let her do that neither. So at the time, my mother was 7 months pregnant. And you can imagine 4 of her children being taken from her, and she's 7 months, at that time, 7 months pregnant. My mother went through a lot of pain during that time. Just to know 4 of her children was taken from her, and what was the thing about the police officer, when they took us out, one of the police ladies, she picks me up off the floor and just put me in the car. And the rest of them, my brother and my 2 sisters, they walked to the car, but they had to this lady just picked me up off the floor. I mean, I can remember, I could see that happening right. I can relive that. I relived that a lot. But my mother, she stayed in a lot of pain from that. She suffered a lot of pain from that. She was really hurt from that ordeal. So when we got to juvenile, when we got to juvenile, we had to be examined and to see if you got lice in your head and all that kind of stuff. But at the time, I stayed sick after the examination. I stayed sick and stuff. So we were on the first floor. So by us being 3 young girls, we were separated. My brother went one way, and the 3 girls went another way. They put us another way. But my mother asked them to keep us together, us 3 girls together.
Were you all together most of the time? Did they actually do that?
No, because the reason why we didn't stay together, we wasn't together all the time, was because I was sick. So I stayed in the room by myself, and they had to go to the second floor to go to school. And they had classes, parties, and other stuff upstairs on the second floor. So I had to stay downstairs in the room by myself because I was sick. So I don't know how long I stayed in the room, but I hurried up and got well because I was there by myself, and I went to just be with my sisters,
When you say sick, what was wrong? What was your stomach hurt? Or
well,
back
I was
hurt,
sick, thrown up and stuff like that. So in my stomach, I was always sick and hurting, in pain. So I stayed in the bed most of the time. And then when they had their little parties and stuff upstairs on the second floor, they would bring me food down from upstairs, and they would stand there and wait till I eat it. Then I had to eat it real fast and stuff. But just to hear the fact of knowing you locked in this room by yourself, and I could hear them close the door. The door was heavy as when you turn a lock, you can hear the lock. And I'm just 7 years old, you know what I'm saying?
Like you're in a prison.
Right, exactly. And
so did you see, you didn't see Louita and Frida much either, right? When you were sick, did you see them at all? Did they let you even see your sisters?
I didn't see them until I got to the second floor. Mm-hmm. When I got to the second floor, that's when I saw them. They had moved them, from down there with me to the second floor because they was all right. I had to stay downstairs because I was sick,
Did you ever see Elijah?
When the time we saw Elijah is when we got to the second floor and we was in class. We was in school. Mm-hmm. And so they told us not to look over at him or speak to him. So we could see him from the corner of our eyes, and he walking in, you know what I'm saying? And that was the only time we saw him. After that, we didn't see him anymore. But us three girls, we stayed together, But as soon as when we got upstairs, they wanted to pick older girls and stuff. They wanted to pick with us and stuff like that. And so you could tell these girls had been through a lot. Because you could tell cuts on them and stuff, you see all that, so you could tell they think they big and bad.
Right.
So they wanted to fight us, wanted to fight us in there. So to show you our lives, God. And he sent a girl out the group to be our friend. And her name was Gloria. Same name my oldest sister, Gloria. And we related like that. And the girl told the group, if you want to fight them, you got to fight me.
Yeah.
So we all became friends after that. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But
so may I ask, just to give some kind of reference to, how old is everyone at this point? You, Elijah, as well as the twins. What's the age groups?
Okay, Elijah was 10, I think. Frida and Louita was 8, and I was 7.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
If we could, what's the atmosphere in the society as a whole? Because we're talking around what year is this?
53, 54. And 54 is when we was taken.
54.
54 was when we was taken, yes ma'am. When 54.
Around
the end of 54. Because we went to court. We went to court in the early part of 54, I think it was February.
Okay.
Because I had the papers and stuff. It was February 54.
Right.
We went to court. We all went to court. We had a lot of Muslims. Mm-hmm. The teachers of the school.
Yeah.
Sister Ozetta, Sister Mamie, Sister Firm. There was another sister. Each one of the sisters had one. Each one had us. And we
Right.
had one.
Right.
Because it was 4 of us.
Right.
So when they call our names, the sisters to us don't answer. So as they took us from the court that day.
Yes, ma'am.
So we didn't answer. But when we got ready to leave, they wrapped us around in their long skirts and walked us out. And so,
Alhamdulillah.
yes, ma'am. So that's what, and when we left the courts, that's what it was that day. Then later on in the year, they came to the house and that knock was on the door. Like I said, that knock came on the door.
Were you all aware of this atmosphere of the school and what was going on in the court? Like, were you all aware as children?
Not really, because we were so young. Not me, really,
Right.
because I was so young. I didn't really know
Right.
what was really taking place, what was really, really happening to me.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So if they had I think I recall, if they had what was the sisters telling y'all if they called y'all's name?
To not to answer. To not to answer. They told us to not to answer.
Because if you all had an answer, they would have took you all
took you
then.
all that same. They would have took us from the court that day.
So the sisters were there in their garments,
Right.
Yes.
in their long dresses,
Yes.
and they covered and secured them
Mm-hmm.
to show you the closeness of Muslims then.
Yes, ma'am.
That I stated before in an interview before about how strong the love was. When
Yes.
one was in trouble, everybody was in trouble.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Everybody came.
Right.
Now my mother wasn't there,
Right. Right.
but you see how the sisters
Yes, ma'am.
were there in the absence of the mother protecting the children.
They need
Because
their
what?
nieces
It
and
takes a
nephews.
children
Yes.
to raise a village.
Right.
And so the other sisters were there
to cover down.
to cover down.
Mm-hmm.
Praise.
And then
Please continue, Sister Jenny.
my mother, we didn't see after they took us and put us in juvenile.
Yeah.
We stayed in juvenile, say about at least 30 days. Then we went, and my father would come visit every Wednesday. His time was on a Wednesday, and he would come every Wednesday.
Praise.
And we were so happy to see my dad. And because we know he was bringing us oranges, bananas, and what have you, you know what I'm saying? And we would just hug our arm and stuff. We asked, where's Mom, you know? And he said, your mom couldn't make it this time. But actually, my mother came all the way to the building, and she was seven months pregnant. And she came all the way to the building, and she was just fainting and had to take her back home.
She couldn't take it. She couldn't bear it.
Exactly.
You know, Sister Jen,
And-
Sister Medina and I have talked about this. And we make great sacrifices for what we say we believe in. And I'm a mother of 4.
Yes, ma'am.
And I can't imagine for someone to knock at my door and ask for my babies. And I just want to set the tone and make sure people understand. This is at a time when you all of your lives are hearing the white man is the devil.
Yes, ma'am.
And the government has showed us they were not our friends. And I just want to put us in, as we've been taught in the study guides, to walk in the footsteps of Mother Bernstein and Brother John Muhammad, to have a knock at your door.
Right.
And I am forever grateful that was the sacrifice that was made. Thank you. And you all made it because my children attended MUI
Yes, ma'am.
because of the sacrifices that you all made then. And there are MUIs all over this country.
That's
Right.
right.
But they stand because someone made a sacrifice
That's
for
right.
this.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And I'll be forever indebted. And I'll be forever grateful. Because I can't imagine, as a mother, what that could have been like.
Yes, ma'am.
As the mother and as the children.
Right. Right.
So I also would like to I thank a lot for you all. I also would like to set the tone too in this regard. And we brought this up before. Remember, Emmett Till grandparents got a knock on the door. And they never seen that baby alive again.
That's right. That's right.
Just to hear your mother and her striving to make it, to see her babies. 7-year-old girls, 8-year-old girls, her 10-year-old son, with who has been established as an enemy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But see, and we didn't even see y'all after we was removed. We was removed from the juvenile detention. We went to a boarding home, and we stayed in the boarding home for at least 30 days.
Really?
All that time, we imagine we didn't see our brother, we didn't see my father, and we didn't see my mother. They didn't know where we were. They didn't know where we were. We didn't see them until we got back home. You know, and all the time I was sick. I stayed sick off and on.
Yeah. Mentally, emotionally, physically, it had to have an effect. So I can understand the physical sickness, especially Mother Bernstein, I'm sure, was cooking a certain way. Right. That they're not cooking like that in the juveniles and foster care home. Right. And for you to be excited that daddy gonna bring fresh fruit. Now that right there is a testimony to what y'all was doing at y'all house. Because my children been like, Mommy bringing us some candy. And you like, oranges.
Yeah.
So can we for one moment, when Brother John would come, were all of you allowed to be with him at that moment?
No. You see, we didn't see my brother after we saw him in school.
Right.
We didn't see him anymore. My father, when he would visit, I don't know what day his visits were, my brother's, but he would when he come see us, it was us 3 girls. It wasn't my brother. It was just us 3 girls.
So, Sister Janet, there's the period of being in the juvenile, and then a period of going to foster care. Now it's time to return home. Do you remember that day?
I remember one thing, we was happy to see our mother. And it was just joy, happy. You know?
Do you recall your mom and her expression that moment?
Yeah, she grabbed us and hugged us and all, you know.
I can only imagine it was a lot of kisses.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Praise be to Allah. So, growing up, Sister Medina has spoke on beautiful character of Mother Bernstein and Brother John Muhammad. How was it for you in the house with your mom and your dad?
I was one that my mother took me under her wings as the one would stand in her shoes, covering the house when she had to go out in the field in the nation to the MGT class, teach there, or whatever she had to do out in the community. So I was that child that was always up under, was curious about how you make the bread, how you cook, or whatever. She would teach me all the recipes. She would teach me all this. Yeah. So
that training unit of cooking was being passed on.
And also all my brothers and sisters too. She taught them too all the way.
And I can attest because I have ate well by you all, and I thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So that's what she did, and also including, and as she cooked and whatever she was teaching, she would she would always incorporate Allah. She was always incorporating Islam.
Oh.
All that was incorporating everything we did.
Everything.
So it wasn't a special moment
Right.
that, like you say, religion was taught to us.
Right.
It's always.
It was
You know,
every day.
Yeah, it was lived.
And that
Yes,
Islam
ma'am.
is not a religion, but our way of life.
Right, yes, ma'am.
So
So
Yes,
she
ma'am.
was living it
So-
at home
Yes, ma'am.
And
Right.
abroad.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
abroad.
Yes, ma'am.
Praise be to Allah.
And if she saw whatever she saw in us, each one of us, she worked on that. You know, she worked on that. Like my sister here, that's who Siggy is.
Right.
She taught her from a little child. You know, I'm 10 years older than her.
Right.
Her is just my little sister right here.
Yeah, little sister.
Yeah, little sister.
Okay.
You know,
Little sister.
that's all right. That's okay. honey.
I don't know who's
But, but that's okay.
But she was able to
But-
hone in on each child.
That's right. Each child she would teach, and she would what she saw in you, she would teach you on that. And she would, you
Bring it
know,
out of
bring it out of you.
Bring
You
it
know
out
what I'm
of you.
saying? Yeah. Each child. And my brother Elijah, he loved to teach.
Right.
Yeah, he loved to teach. He wanted to be a minister.
Alhamdulillah.
So my mother would set up the living room
Yeah, I've seen
on
pictures.
like the mosque.
Yeah.
And all of us little ones, we was his
you all were the
audience.
visitors.
We were the audience.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? And so Elijah, he loved to teach the Yaqub's history. That was his favorite subject. So my
Really?
mother would stand. She would stand in the background, and she'd tell us, "Oh, you done made a point." So it's time for us to clap. You know what I'm saying? Yes, ma'am.
Praise be to
It was
Allah.
everything she took, and whatever she saw in us, she molded and made it the way it should be. And she'd tell us our
Praise be to
mistakes or what
Allah.
have you. Yes, ma'am.
Praise
That's the way
be
that
to
was.
Allah. Well, that's beautiful. You know, we've talked so much about her being the first captain, the first secretary, the first trainer, and those training units that we're still standing on now. That's what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
The
Yes,
cook.
ma'am.
Sister Medina had
Absolutely.
mentioned, several other things where she's demonstrating, and now you bringing up the rearing of the children.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
That's exactly what it is, to hone in and see the talent in each of your children.
Yes.
That's a blessing, and to pull that out of them,
Right, exactly.
that shows skill.
Right.
That
Right,
shows skill.
Yeah, that's
Right.
right. That's right.
And my father,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. John Muhammad, he was the enforcer. He was the provider and the enforcer.
Yeah, he.
That's my father.
Right,
Yeah, he-
right,
You know,
Right.
whenever mama say, "Hey y'all making too much noise in there,"
right,
we'll bring it down a little bit.
right.
He's going back up. But here come my father. Hey,
Here
didn't I
come
tell?
John.
Yep, didn't I
Come
tell y'all? Y'all don't want me to have to come down there.
Right.
That was my father. He was the enforcer. Whenever my mother needed his back, he was there.
Okay. So we
Yes,
just
ma'am.
introduced
She was
another
a-
training unit
Yes.
on how to take care of
Right.
yours.
Right. Exactly.
There we go. There we see all the training
All
units
the
coming
training
into
was
play,
enforced.
right?
Enforced.
Yes,
Praise
ma'am.
be
That's
to
where it
Allah.
was.
Yeah.
Now, again, we want to make sure everybody is reiterated. This is the brother of the
Yeah.
Honorable
Elijah
Elijah Muhammad.
Exactly.
The youngest brother of
Yes,
the
ma'am.
Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I got the opportunity to attend his temple once
Okay.
and hear him teach. I also had the opportunity to see him and John Muhammad
Oh, okay.
come to Savior's Day.
Okay.
And I have to say this. Everybody was like, Honorable Elijah Muhammad here.
Oh,
Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
yeah.
And they were walking with security.
Uh-huh.
And the way they were walking, you were like, is that Honorable Elijah? Came, and it was Savior's Day in Detroit, so it really looked like,
Right.
oh, Detroit know what they doing. They
Right,
brought up
right.
the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So, but it was John and John Muhammad.
Right.
All praises
Yeah.
due to Allah. So it's speaking. So we brought that up to say, do you have any memories, fond memories of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad at all?
Yes, ma'am. We was in when we got back home
Yes.
to my mother and father after we had went to the boarding came off the boarding home. When we came back home, well, my uncle felt like he felt really bad about that we was removed from my parents. So he felt like that by him being the messenger, that the white man really wanted him.
Yes, ma'am.
And so instead they couldn't get him, so they got the close, and that was his brother's children. So that's my uncle came, and when we came home that summer, and he came and took us back to Chicago with him.
Praise.
And we stayed in Chicago, and
he drove himself.
He
The
drove
messenger drove himself from Chicago.
Back
came to Detroit and picked them up. And he did that more than one time.
And
he would do that several times to come and get them.
Right.
And let them spend the summers with them with him in Chicago.
Right.
Praise be to
Allah. And it was those times those was happy times.
Yeah.
Really happy times. And when we get up in the morning time, we go in his bedroom, we give him the greetings and everything, you know. Then we go downstairs and Claire, she'll have our breakfast and stuff ready for us.
Praise
but you know, I'm named after my mother, grandmother Marie. My middle name is Marie.
Alhamdulillah.
So you know, I was the namesake. So I was always on grandma's lap.
They said she didn't know.
I was always on grandma's lap. Yeah, I was always on grandma's lap. Yes, ma'am.
Now we're gonna bring clarity. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad's mother,
right,
is Mother Marie Muhammad.
Right.
And again, this is whose lap Sister Janet is sitting on, taking advantage of.
Right.
Praise be to Allah.
But
Sister Janet, it's an honor. It's an honor.
Thank you.
Of the sacrifice of you and your family for this nation.
Yes, ma'am.
And there are, like I said, Mother Claire Muhammad schools and MUI schools and University of Islam. And Sister Medina, you brought up a point, and I really don't want us to miss this. Independent education.
That's right. That grew out of this sacrifice that started with the Nation of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the University of Islam and the school. That's where it all began. That helped make it. The sacrifices they made have helped make all of this possible.
Wow.
Yeah. So it wasn't just limited to the Muslim school.
Exactly.
Yeah. All independent schools.
Started here with
this sacrifice.
That sacrifice.
That's right. That's right.
Before we wrap up, Sister Jenny, are there any closing words or thoughts that you have that you would like to share? Because I can say, as a nation and as a mother of children who attended MUI, there is an honor, and I'm forever grateful and forever thankful. And we thank you. We thank you for your sacrifice. But do you have any last words you would like to share with us?
I just want to say that I didn't put this in there, but when we was in Chicago with my uncle, like I told you about that watermelon, I'm still looking for that watermelon.
So let the people know about the watermelons. Because he would take us around to the supermarket. Yes.
My uncle would take us in the evening. You know, one evening he would take us around to the supermarket, buy us fruit, pick the watermelon, candy. Even when he came to our house, he would, you know, the ice cream truck come out, he would give us money to go and buy some ice cream and what have you. And that's just the way he was. When he would come and he would be at the airport, he would have bought all of us gifts and brought to the house when he come in town. And the main thing he would tell my mom, when he called, he'd say, put the little pot in the big pot.
Put the little pot in the big pot.
And then my mama would say, John, ooh, the messenger's at the airport. And we go all around the house, clean it up, because we know.
Oh, praise
but that's beautiful. It's just beautiful times. Yes,
well, we thank you again. I thank you, because I know this is not something you do often.
Sure ain't.
I know this is exclusive at my sister's house.
Yes,
and I thank you sincerely for you and your family's sacrifice. May Allah be
All
pleased
praises to
with
Allah.
your other brothers and sisters and with the work and sacrifice they did. May Allah be pleased with you all, okay? Again, another grand episode of At My Sister's House Talk Show. To get more understanding, more history of Mother Bernstein and the sacrifices and all that the nation has, please check out www.thenoireformer.com for more books and information. Thank you again for joining us at another episode of At My Sister's House. Assalamu alaikum.